Welcome back, everybody, to Grounded in Greenville. My name is Nick Green.
And I'm Kenny Gates.
And you're listening to WZMB 91.3 FM Greenville. And it is time for the Greenville Roundup for this week. And I'll go ahead and get us kick-started with this because I know what Canda's story is, and I know it's something that we're going to want to talk a little bit more about. So I'll go through mine, and then we'll go more into what he's got to talk about. And I'm sure what he's going to talk about is something very important that we need to talk about here.
Yep.
But I'll go ahead and get started. And as part of the City of Greenville's 250th anniversary, the City of Greenville and the Emerge Art Gallery are hosting the student art competition themed around what do you enjoy the most about Greenville. So the competition is for ages 18 and under. Submissions need to be 8.5 by 11 inches, and submissions can be online or at the City Hall. The entry deadline is on May 10th, and there are lots of prizes included. So if you are interested in art, you're under the age of 18, or you have a child who is under the age of 18, and they're just really good at art, and you think they'd be great at this, I think this is a great opportunity for you to sign them up. There's lots of prizes involved. Just be a fun community event for you guys to do.
Oh, yeah, definitely, for sure. And I guess we'll go and get into my story because as me and Nick know and what I'm about to tell you guys, everyone is definitely, if you are listening, you definitely probably have already heard about this, but we wanted to get more.
You might have a general idea as to what he's going to talk about before we even talk about it. But go ahead, Cannon.
So yesterday morning, if you have not heard, there was a shooting in near Walcoats Elementary School. And I'll give you guys more of the details here in a second. But yeah, so Greenville police say a gunman shot an ECU scientist in an unprovoked attack near Walcoats Elementary School yesterday morning. Chief Ted Saul says his officers took the gunman into custody after an exchange of gunfire. This started around 8:30 a.m. on East 5th Street on a sidewalk adjacent to Walcoats Elementary. The ECU employee encountered the man on a bike, and the chief said the gunman fired at least 5 times. And also, at the school heard the gunshots, as did students and staff. The victim has been identified as 27-year-old Andrew Redioff, a research scientist at the university. ECU says Redioff has been here since December 2020. Police say, fortunately, the man only received what appeared to be non-life-threatening injuries. The gunman, 38-year-old Savell Hightower, has been charged with multiple counts of attempted murder, assault with a deadly weapon, intent to kill, inflicting serious injury, assault with a deadly weapon, intent to kill a law enforcement officer, and possession of a firearm by felon, and possession of a stolen firearm. After the shooting, police say Hightower continued on his bike down 5th Street when an officer tried to stop him. The officer exited his vehicle in an attempt to detain the individual and was immediately met with gunfire from the suspect, said the chief. As soon as the suspect fired on the officer, along with 2 additional responding officers, returned fire. And, I mean, definitely most of this is just crazy to think about. Mm-hmm. And then WITN ended up getting a video of the encounter between the police and the suspected gunman. In the video, at least 10 gunshots could be heard. That video was definitely circling around the whole campus, I would say, yesterday. A witness says he woke up around 8:15 a.m. and heard 8 to 10 gunshots, went outside and saw multiple police cars. And, of course, Walcoats Elementary was immediately placed on lockdown while St. Peter Catholic School, which is just about a block away, was put on a modified lockdown. And then police closed East 5th Street between Elm Street and 10th Street for most of the day, ended up reopening around 4 p.m. to all traffic. Well, yeah, it's considering how close this is to campus and how close it is to just pretty much everything in general, it definitely is a little scary. To see everything that happened. And, you know, it kind of gives, I don't even know necessarily how to say, it's hard to hear when something like that happened to a guy who's definitely seemed like he did nothing wrong in Mr. Redioff. Only, I mean, must probably just been dropping his kid off or even maybe walking to campus, something like that. And it definitely just seems like something that situation should never have happened. And obviously it's great that Redioff he's perfectly fine. He went to the hospital, but he's perfectly fine. Yeah. And the person was taken into custody. I myself seen the video. I know Nick has seen the video as well. And it definitely is interesting, especially the thing is, it doesn't even look like the suspect. He was just looked like he had no care in the world.
Yeah, no, he was riding his bike.
Yeah, just riding his bike.
No care in the world. It's almost like he knew nothing that was happening right now. Like, it didn't look like he was trying to flee anything. It looked like he was just riding his bike. It looked like he was just, as if this is a normal thing for him. Yeah. And it's one of those things where you watch the video, you see all these things, and it's just, I mean, it's sad that something like this happens. I hate that. One thing I wanted to talk about whenever you told me that this is something you were going to bring up, one thing I wanted to address is ECU and why we didn't go into lockdown whenever we heard, because this was just right off campus for us.
Literally, basically.
Like, literally, I mean, it's practically almost on campus. It's right
like
there.
Probably a block from Rivers.
Yeah, it's not far at all from camp. I guarantee you students on campus who are walking probably could hear the gunfire. So I wanted to kind of address this. I think the biggest reason why we did not go into lockdown is because the suspect was apprehended immediately, and they did not see any threat to campus whenever he was first. Because, I mean, I don't know the time frame of when the original shooting happened versus when the police got to him. I don't know the time frame of that, of how long that was the case. But if that was only like a short period of time before the police were able to get to him, and they did not deem any threat imminent to ECU, I think that is probably the biggest reason why we did not go on lockdown. I know that's something a lot of students have been talking about today anyway. I don't know if you've heard that today or not.
Yeah.
I've definitely heard my fair share of it today, of why did ECU not go on lockdown with it being this close in proximity to campus. And I think it's a fair question to ask, because most colleges have a protocol of whenever something like this happens, within a certain distance of campus, it's immediately everything's shut down. And honestly, that was my first thought too. When I saw the ECU alert that morning, I did not know that there was a shooting. I just knew stay away from 5th and Elm was all the ECU alert kind of said. And then I started walking to class. Me and my good buddy were talking. He was like, "Hey, did you see the ECU alert?" I was like, "Yeah, I don't know what happened over there. I'm assuming a bad car accident, though." He was like, "You don't think it's a shooting, do you?" I was like, "No, I feel like we'd be locked down if it was a shooting."
Wow.
And, well, turns out not even 5 minutes later, we found out it was a shooting, and we did not go into lockdown at all yesterday.
I will say, considering that from the elementary school to around the area he was shot, I'm going to assume that the shooting and the time that the officers ended up them exchanging shots, that it probably was no more than 10 minutes.
I would assume the
even
same,
with how slow on the video, how slow he was biking, that's not far at all, really. That's really only probably 2-3 blocks, maybe something like that. Maybe a little longer. I'm not sure of my blocks radius, but
understand.
Yeah, I don't think it was probably more than 10-15 minutes, because I think they said, but it was like 8:15, 8:30. I think it was 8:15 whenever they heard the witnesses heard shots. So I'm going to assume it was probably, and I think they said it was 8 o'clock. I could be wrong on all this. 8 o'clock whenever he did shoot the victim. I think it was probably 10-15 minutes, like I said, but I could be wrong on all that. I'm not exactly sure on the time frame of everything, but it's just what my rough estimate is. But, I think, Nick, you're definitely right about all that, and people being confused on why there was none. I think it's definitely true. It's just because of how quick the police got him. So really, I mean, applause to the police.
Absolutely.
Definitely. And for how quick they were able to react to the situation and everything. I definitely do think, though, that that's the reason why the campus did not go on lockdown. I think, maybe if this continued on another 10-15 minutes, I think if campus campus hadn't gone on lockdown, there was definitely a problem. And I would assume, I haven't seen anything, but I would assume parents on social media, because their kids told them about it or not, probably like, why didn't campus go on lockdown, all that. And I think it's definitely just because of how quickly the cops got to him.
I think that's the only justifiable explanation we can give you.
Yeah.
Granted, I have not heard that publicly from any higher up saying that. However, I think that's the only explanation I can think of as to why we would not go on lockdown. And I mean, like you said, if this had gone on, if he did not get caught by the police right then, I think we definitely would have.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a world that he did not get caught and we wouldn't be on lockdown, just because of how close in proximity everything was.
Yeah, this semester has already been the craziest, I feel like. Everything.
Absolutely.
We had the in quotations bomb threat. A couple weeks ago, like, we talked about it like that was nothing, and then this. Crazy semester. I feel like we've already been
Another
a part
thing
of.
I kind of wanted to bring up a little bit is the ECU alert was not very specific as to what was happening at all. Like I said, half the students here didn't even know there was a shooting until we saw the video, which was going around campus.
I want to see if I can pull it up real quick. To see okay. So it says ECU alert, no immediate threat campus. This says no immediate threat campus. Avoid 5th and Elm Street area due to Greenville police activity. 5th Street will be blocked for undetermined amount of time.
Yeah, so all it kind of says is police activity, which is the same thing we got whenever there was the bomb threat.
Yeah.
Which I think this might be a sense of don't cause panic if there's no need to panic.
Yeah.
I think that's what this is kind of for. But at the same time, it's one of those, like, at what point, like, what's the fine line between being transparent with people and what's the fine line between trying not to cause panic? What's the difference? Like, what's the fine line here? And what do we do? Because, I mean, I think a lot of people are like, now, wait a minute, how did we not know about this? Like, so I think that's I'm curious your thoughts on that, actually.
On everything. It is definitely very interesting with how everything is, why there wasn't, I guess, more, I don't even know how to exactly say it. It definitely is interesting to see how there was kind of the same amount of concern to everything when they are definitely two completely different things, I guess.
Oh, absolutely.
And I see what you're talking about there. I don't know. It's definitely a very interesting thing. I would think that if, like we were saying already, if the victim had not been, or not victim, but the person who shot these shots and all that and shot Mr. Reddy off, if he had not been apprehended in a longer time, then definitely there should have been more like stay inside, lock down everything because of that. So, I mean, there definitely is some interesting things that are happening with that. I honestly don't know exactly how we would have handled it.
I don't know.
I don't know how they would have handled it at all. It's definitely very...
It's interesting to think about. I mean, obviously, we're playing the what-if game right now, and that's a road that there's endless possibilities of what happens in the what-if game. This is something that happened just yesterday. That's something me and Cannon both were able to... I mean, we watched the video at lunch together yesterday. Yeah. We got lunch together at Chick-fil-A. We were able to watch the video together. So this is something that we've been on our minds as of recently. Yeah. So we kind of wanted to talk about it with you guys, share what our thoughts were with you about it. But yeah, I think it's just one of those things that we're playing the what if game, and that's a dangerous game to go down. I don't want to get too much into that because, well, like I said, that's opening the door to many, many things that who knows what would have happened.
Yep.
All I will say is thank you to the first responders who were out there, who did apprehend the suspect right away, were able to stop the threat immediately. Applause to you. Thank you for what you do. We could not be more thankful for you. Other than that, do you have any other words on this, Cannon?
No, I don't think so, Nick. Just definitely that. I'm just, like you said, very glad about the first responders that were able to act quickly on the whole situation. And I will say another quick thought.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised on how long Fifth and Elm were closed. They were closed till 4 p.m.
Really?
And that was,
I was going to say, I actually did not hear how long they were closed.
Yeah, they were closed till 4 p.m., which is very interesting because I feel like everything kind of seemed to be wrapped up fairly quickly. So I don't know exactly what made them do that.
Probably because they're going to have investigations go on.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because, I mean, you got to think, whenever there's a police-involved shooting going on, there's going to be a long-term investigation that's going to happen immediately from then. And typically that officer will go on a leave period of time in order to make sure everything's okay while they can investigate the situation.
I guess what I'm confused about is not the fact they were closed and they were doing that till 4 in that specific area, because I feel like the area they would have been more closed off would have been at the elementary school.
At the elementary,
where the actual shooting happened. Whereas where he was shot by the police officers
was more so them just getting the suspect.
You saw what exactly kind of happened. I don't know. That's just a thought I have on it. I'm kind of surprised on how long that did last.
Yeah, I'm a little shocked by that too, actually, given the fact that there was, I mean, granted, I don't know if there's anything at the elementary school or not. There probably was something over there. Not entirely sure on that, but that's what I would assume. But yeah, those are our thoughts on that. Yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning into the Greenville Roundup. We'll be right back with In the Pit here in just a little bit. After these short messages, y'all stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.